Hello there. Welcome back to PhysioBeast. Have you ever heard from a doctor or a physical therapist something along the lines, you should get some exercise. You need to exercise more. Or you need to exercise to stay healthy. But what does it actually mean to exercise? Does it simply mean physical activity? Is it the same as training? If not, what's the difference? I'm going to explain all of that today. Training and exercise are terms that, even by the supposed experts on physical activity, so physical therapists as well as doctors, are often being used interchangeably. This is just one example for how we often don't understand the meaning behind some terms crucial to our job ourselves. We use these words loosely in a subjective way, while in reality those are very specific terms with precise meaning. Even in scientific publications, which that part of our industry that has to, beyond everything, stay evidence-based, so likes to quote, you'll often find training and exercise used interchangeably. This just shows the detachment from reality and lack of professionalism found in surely not all but many scientific papers, the authors of which are, by the way, often just theorists. And so you can find a bunch of studies on strength training designed and done by people who have never held a barbell in their hands. But let's leave the subject of professionalism in the scientific literature for some other time. So what does it mean to train and what does it mean to exercise? As someone who is interested in their health and fitness, it is worth to know the difference. And as a physical therapist or a coach, you have to know and understand that difference, otherwise your work won't make any sense. Exercise describes a physical activity that isn't scheduled or planned within a broader context. It is something you do more casually or spontaneously. Exercise as a physical activity is relevant in context of effects it has on your body at that time, short term, so during the activity and immediately afterwards. You got tired, sweaty, your heart rate went up, you burned some calories, and are left with a feeling of having done something good for your health. But since the activity isn't specifically planned, the effects are also rather random. You see that it's a really nice day today, so you decide to go for a little run, but you're not sure for how long. You're gonna see how you feel as you go. Or you get to the gym and you were supposed to squat today, but you see that all the squat racks are occupied and you don't really want to wait, so you decide to do some exercise with dumbbells instead, and then finish off with 15 minutes of cardio on an elliptical machine. I mean, it's still good, right? You got some exercise. Even if it's something you do regularly, it is still a form of exercise if you don't plan for and make progress over time. Training, on the other hand, is a carefully planned, thought-out process with a specific goal in mind. That goal can be very specific, such as achieving certain run time in competition upcoming in 3 months, or getting to 500-pound deadlift as quickly as possible, or it can be more general, so simply you're trying to improve your strength or endurance over time. Either way, you have to think through and plan your way to achieving this goal, and that's why an individual training session isn't relevant in context of effects it has on you today, but in context of previous and next training sessions, and most importantly, long-term effects. It's just a part of a much bigger picture. What you do in a given training session isn't spontaneous or random. It doesn't depend on what you feel like doing today. Before you even show up, you already know exactly what exercises you're going to do, in what order, how many reps and sets. And the most important characteristic of training that makes it different from exercise is progress, planned for and being made over time. In order for a training process to work this way and actually lead you to your chosen goal, it has to be based on physiological mechanism of adaptation. Like every biological organism, ours too possesses the ability to adapt, so to react and make changes in response to stimuli from the external environment. Such a process occurs in 3 stages: stress, recovery, adaptation. First, there has to be a stimulus perceived by our body as stress, so something potentially harmful. It disrupts your homeostasis a bit, which your system has to fix through recovery. At the same time, adaptation happens, which means some semi-permanent changes take place in order to protect you in case such a stimulus would happen again in the future, and so that it won't be regarded as stress anymore. Couple of things to note here. In order to trigger the adaptation process, the stimulus has to be strong enough so that it is actually perceived as stress. It can be too strong though, because there is a limit to how much and how quickly our body can adapt. Adaptation isn't completely permanent. Our body is very considerate with its use of resources, and once the stimulus, the stress, disappears, so does the adaptation, which is no longer needed. One of the best examples of this is suntan. During vacation, when you spend time on the beach, you expose yourself to more sunlight, which includes ultraviolet radiation, potentially harmful to your skin. So that extra exposure is stress. After a tanning session, your skin is a bit tender and burned, but not for long. It recovers. At the same time, adaptation is taking place, which in this case means putting more melanin in your skin, which acts protectively against UV radiation, and in the process making it darker. That's how you get suntan. But if you spend too much time in the sun right on the first day, your skin will burn severely and you'll suffer for a couple of days. The stress was too big for adaptation to take place. And also note that sometime after vacation, your tan disappears as your exposure to sunlight has returned to regular levels. Training is a process of accumulating biological adaptation. You intentionally, repeatedly initiate stress, recovery, adaptation cycle in order to induce gradual desired changes in your body. You gradually increase stress, so that means training load, so that it is continuously perceived as stress and stimulates further adaptation. If you apply a load to which your body has already been exposed, there will be no change, since to that it has already adapted. That's why I always emphasize progress in the form of increasing weight in strength training so heavily. Now I'm gonna say something that will probably be seen as controversial, but it shouldn't be controversial to anyone who knows and understands physiology. There are only two types of physical training, and that is strength training and endurance training. Strength and endurance are the only two physical characteristics, motor skills, that can be realistically improved through adaptation process. Strength adaptation is mainly structural and occurs primarily in your musculoskeletal system. Muscles get bigger, bones get denser, in response to stress in the form of gradually increasing weight on the bar. Endurance adaptation is primarily metabolic and affects mainly your cardiovascular system and cell biochemistry, so that includes better processing of ATP, more efficient transport of nutrients to your muscles, etc. And it occurs in response to stress in the form of gradually increasing run distance, for example. Other motor skills such as speed, jumping power, coordination are mostly under control of your nervous system, which doesn't adapt almost at all to anything. And if you're unsure of that, then apparently you haven't met a person with nerve damage. You cannot train your speed, power, or balance to any significant degree. You can just so much as exercise them. So you'll experience the effects of physical activity at that time, but it's not going to cause any permanent changes. There is no such thing as power training or speed training. It's an oxymoron. Separate from training and exercise, there's also such a term as practice, which describes executing specific tasks in a set environment with accuracy and precision. A good example of that is free throw in basketball. You throw a basketball that has a certain weight from a certain distance from the basket that is set at a certain height. The more throws like these you'll perform, through practice, your accuracy and precision will improve over time within these conditions. It's not going to help you with throwing a heavier ball, or from a greater distance, or with throwing a handball into a goal. You improve sport-specific skills through practice. You don't train football, you practice football. You train for strength and endurance, which help you get better at the sport by also making practice easier. Having digressed a little, but we explained what it means to train and what it means to exercise. Can we say that one is better than the other? Well, when it comes to physical activity, doing something is surely better than doing nothing. If you exercise on a regular basis, you do it reasonably and safely, you're positively affecting your health, and for many people, that is already a lot. But if you're seriously interested in improving your health and fitness, then training is the better way to go, especially since strength, as I explained in this video, will give you the most significant benefits, so improving your strength should be your primary focus. And strength can only really be improved through training. Today's topic was a bit more technical, and it surely challenged some common wisdom, so if you want me to clarify or expand on some specific point, let me know in the comments. I'll try to answer as best as I can. As always, I invite you to follow my Facebook page, where you can also get in touch with me, link down below. In the description, you'll also find links to my previous videos that I mentioned today. Stay strong, and until next time.